What's going on, guys? This here's Sit Comics, and this here, behind my giant conceited tower myself, is the Hall of Engineering that I've come up with. Basically, I just wanted to sort of change the name of this series that I haven't done in a while, just because Minecraft Creations was everywhere, and it's like, you know what, if everybody else is doing it, it's sort of not worth my time. I'm not a hipster, don't get me on that. But I just sort of wanted to make this world just to keep a nice little cool recollection of all the contraptions I built in Minecraft. So without further ado, I want to go show you guys this new one. We're gonna pass two other machines on the way. If you guys don't know anything about them, I'm more than happy to oblige. I just personally feel like they are too simplified to warrant being discussed. I think that most anybody could figure it out. But as we go over here, and yes, I have fly modded and Kingdom of Lazy, we have over here one of the, oh no you don't, we have an auto miner, I guess is what I'll call it. TNT drilling machine would work too. When I got Minecraft 1.0 or 1.8.1, whichever one, whenever I first got creative mode, I guess would be 1.8.1. The first thing I did was build a TNT drill, and the way it worked was just several pistons, and I had like 6 levers and a button to fire. It was when I was still learning redstone, still learning what my limitations were and what I could do with it. But when I went to go build this one in my hall, because I'm going to put, like, my bolt action, cannon will probably go over there, and all this other stuff, I decided, you know what, I want to make my controls simplified, even though that's going to make the wiring complicated. I wanted to get it down to 2 buttons, and have it to where if I pressed the button once, only 1 piston would fire, but would still be wired up to where if I pressed the button again, a second piston would fire, but I wouldn't have multiple pistons firing. I would have just 1 fire per button push. And so, just to show you, and this is what I came up with for that. So just sort of show you guys what I got going on here. We're gonna load up this thing, and here we are. We got it down to 2 button pushes. I have a reset button for the pistons, and a fire button. That was another thing I wanted to do real quick. I'm blathering on, is I wanted to have a method to retract the pistons back once the, I guess I'll call it a clip, once the clip had been emptied. So here we go. There has to be quite a bit of delay for this to work, but there we are. As you can see, everything is wired up, but only that 1 piston fired. So I can go ahead and just keep firing this off. So I can get it pushed back, or I can get it to where, at least it looks like something. But as you can see, it fired only once for each piston. Even though I only had 1 button push, I didn't have several different levers for each bit. If I press this, all those are set back to default, as well as the pistons retract each other back into empty mode, with a little bit of glitching from the Optifine mod, but whatever. So in order to make this work, I first made the retraction mechanism, and when I first made it, I thought it was going to be the hard part. That's why I started there. But pretty much what I found out is that you're going to have to count down. If you do some of this in this fashion, you have to count down every other block and just add on 2 ticks is what it was. I believe the 2 ticks is just because, you have to retract. Yeah, it's because the piston behind it has to retract and then come back before the one behind that one can fire. So you have to have 2 ticks. So basically what happens is, I don't even entirely, yeah, that repeater is actually kind of unnecessary. But this one will fire, and then this one will fire, pulling that one back. Then this one will fire, pulling that one back. And then it'll pretty much worm its way over here. But once you get to this point, we're only halfway. But yet, we're only halfway to being retracted. So then you have to come back here to this point and do it again, counting up 2 ticks every time for it to fully retract. The problem is that once you get to this point, you have to get the electrical signal to reset, and for that over there I have just another little a small bank of repeaters that are timed to be about as long as, yeah, they're in between this one and that one over there, the second one, just to give it enough time to catch up. What actually I thought was going to be the easy part and turned out to be the hardest part, because that's how engineering works, by the way, is I had to come up with a new application for memory, or I had to like come out with an, I guess I can call it an accessory for memory cells, and that's this piston right here. Because obviously if you only want one button push, memory cells are the way to go, except that memory cells are mostly used, I think, in combination locks, or, you know, to keep a door opened off of a button push, and then you can reset it, and, you know, it will reset. The problem is using multiple cells on one button push, they all want to fire at once, which would have launched 2 of these pistons immediately, would have immediately ignited 2 TNT, and I would be a very irritated little monkey. So what I had to do is I had to come up with a method of pistons, to where I have each of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cells set up with a piston that is wired to the cell before it, blocking current. To where when I press the button over there, these 2 cells here, out of these 2 cells here, only this one will fire. And then when that one fires, it will close this piston, breaking the circuit, and will open this piston. Now obviously there are some issues with tick delay, and I had to get some pretty epic delays going on my piston, which is why it takes a few seconds, or I think it's like, oh, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so it's about a fifth of a second delay, which, yeah, it's pretty noticeable. But pretty much what happens is it's gonna, it'll go up, travel up here, close this piston, and then before this current can get here, or after this current gets to this block, will come, and the current from that torch will wrap around and open up this piston, to where when I press the button next, this one will get power, and none of the other 4 will. Even though it really doesn't matter at this point, why once the memory cell gets power here, it really doesn't matter anymore. But I didn't know that at the time. I was sort of just researching it, making sure I could make it work. And so that's what I just have. I have that process repeated 4 times, to where each time you fire a memory cell, the next piston in line will open after the current has traveled. That's actually a problem I had, is that the piston would pop open real quick, and the power would, because buttons are not 1 tick. Buttons are like, I don't even know how many ticks buttons are, but they're definitely not 1 tick. So it would still be power in the line, and so it would just open and open and open and open. And wow, I actually did the hand signals there. And it would, all of them would fire, and so I'd have a pretty worthless 1 button push for a controlled event. So that's pretty much what that is. I just kind of wanted to show you guys. It was a couple hours of my life that I dedicated to it. This same come up, with these memory cell accessories. This same device is what I use over in my minecart dispenser over there. And yeah, I'm pretty proud of this. So if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the bottom there. I do read all of them, and I try to respond to all of them when I can. As well as, we're also above water, so we're not actually blowing up anything. But yeah. Leave comment suggestions. Leave a like if you like this. Leave a dislike if you didn't like this. The only thing I ask is if you leave a dislike, tell me why. That's all I ask for. Because I am doing this partly, well, I'm doing it mostly for my therapy, but I'm also doing it partly for your guys' entertainment. So, yeah. All that being said, this has been Sick Comics, and